Hey guys, today we're making a shop counter inspired by Dunkin Donuts, so I really hope you'll enjoy. For the shop counter itself, I used some thin sheets of wood as well as wide popsicle sticks. Usually you'll be able to find sheets of wood like this in miniature or craft shops, but if you don't have this, you can also use cardboard. The first piece you're going to cut is for the front, and for this you're going to start out by cutting a rectangle. And then you also want to cut off a small section where you want the display. Next you want to add the side pieces. I made one side wider than the other, but that's just a matter of personal preference. I glued on two pieces for the countertop, and I then cut white popsicle sticks in half and glued those on as a decorative trim. Use a file or sandpaper to round off the edges. For the display case you're going to need 4 pieces, 1 for the bottom, 2 for the sides, and then I glued on a white popsicle stick on top. Glue that in place and then add another piece for the shelf. Once you've made the basic counter, you can paint it in any color of your choice. I used acrylic paint in black and brown. Next you want to make the logo. For this I used fine liners, markers and acrylic paint, and I painted this onto thin cardstock. You then want to cut that out, then measure and cut a sheet of polymer clay to fit, bake that and then glue on the paper. Glue that onto the counter and finish off with a thick layer of glaze. Next I painted a small poster, ad or whatever you want to call it, using watercolors on printer paper. And obviously if you don't want to paint this, you can just print one. I glued that onto cardstock that I painted using black acrylic paint. Cut that out and added a small piece to the back. To make some simple donuts, you want to roll out some polymer clay in a light dough color, then cut off a piece and use a dotting tool to make the hole in the center. Then go around the sides, adding some more texture using a pointy dotting tool or a needle tool. After baking, I added some shading using soft pastels and then finished off with a matte glaze. To make the cruller or twisted donut, you just want to add some texture using a pointed dotting tool and a toothbrush, and then finish off the same way you did with the first one. For the glazed donuts, I added some TLS mixed with a tiny bit of white pastel, and then after baking I used a needle tool to make some lines. For the iced donuts, I just used acrylic paint, and then I also added some polymer clay sprinkles. For the sugar-coated donut, I added liquid clay followed by white craft sand, and for the powdered donut, I added liquid clay and white pastel. And you want to make sure to seal with a glaze to protect the pastel and sand. To make the trays, I cut some pieces from a thin sheet of metal, then use pliers to bend up one of the edges. Glue on parchment paper and the donuts, and then glue them onto the display. For the glass or window, I used plastic from packaging, and then I added strips of metal to hide the glue. To make a super simple napkin holder, I just bent some wire, and then added pieces of tissues for the napkins. I also made a small paper bag, and for this I just used paper and glue. To make the logo on this one, I just used the fine liners, and then I used white gouache to make some of the lines a bit thinner. Lastly, I made a paper cup using white clay. I first pre-baked the basic shape, then added the rim and the coffee, and then baked again. For the coffee, I just used liquid clay mixed with soft pastel. Add the logo, seal with glaze, and you're done.